It's kind of funny how over the past several years, one WrestleMania that I think kind of goes under the radar in terms of how good of a show it actually was, how important and significant of a show that it actually was, is WrestleMania 21. Now, I understand in theory that some people maybe poo poo this show a little bit because of maybe what it represented and what it came to represent. But there's no doubt in my mind that this WrestleMania had a couple of really, really good matches. Really damn good matches. And at the same time, established and helped create some future stars. So a lot was accomplished by this show at the Staples Center, in Los Angeles, California. Now, is this a pay-per-view, a WrestleMania, dare I say, on the same level of a 3 or a 14? No, definitely not in terms of historical significance. Um, is it one that kind of started a new era for the WWE? Oh, absolutely. But like I said, not on that same level of a 3 or a 14. Probably not as good of a show maybe as a 12 or a 19, or for some of you, yes, even heaven forbid, a 17, or for me, like a WrestleMania 7. But this was a good show. And this would be a type of WrestleMania that if we got at WrestleMania 30, I'd actually be really, really pleased with and really, really happy with. Show got off to a really good start. The first three matches on this card were really, really good and really, really were setting a nice tone for this WrestleMania. And going back when you watched it in 2005, after the first three matches, you're like, holy shit, man, this has a chance to be one of the all-time great WrestleManias. It didn't end up being that, in my opinion, but this start here, one of the hottest starts to me in WrestleMania history in terms of the first three matches kind of on the undercard. You have Rey Mysterio beating Eddie Guerrero in a really good opening singles match. Just two guys going out there, no titles on the line, no stupid custody of Dominic at stake here. Just two guys going out there and putting on a show and opening up the show well. A great WrestleMania opener, one of the better WrestleMania openers we've ever had. Sure, it's not Brett versus Owen at WrestleMania 10, but then again, what could be? And this was a significant pay-per-view because via Jericho and Gewurz, you got the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match, where the prize is you got a championship title match sometime within the next year. You had Edge in this, Jericho in this, Shelton Benjamin in this, Chris Benoit in this, Kane in this, Christian in this. And I always go back and watch this Money in the Bank ladder match, and this is one of my favorites. I love this Money in the Bank ladder match. You had some of the right guys in there to really get this match concept over, and it was something unique. It was something different. It was something you hadn't really seen out of the WWE. So that first one that they ever did always is going to feel a little bit more special. But you've probably heard me in the past, especially on the old Off the Rope Show channel, not just talking necessarily about the Breakfast Club, but talking about that Fortunate Four is what I always called them. And that was Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, and Edge. And those are the four guys that over the next 6 years, from 2005 to 2011, that really the WWE was built around. And that was their foundation, was Cena, Batista, Orton, and Edge. And right here, the first member of that Fortunate Four, Edge, wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, which really tied into that ultimate opportunist personality and gimmick that they were trying to establish with him. I don't think they knew what they were going to do with it, how they were going to get there. But the bottom line is this was something that was a signature WrestleMania moment for an Edge, and it made a lot of sense for him to win this type of a match because, let's face it, he was just about ready to become a main event player for the WWE, and his history in triangle ladder matches and TLC matches, it seemed well suited for him to win this type of match. So you put on a really good match, and you helped create a future star. So double bonus for the WWE there. Now, in between the second and third match, to me, you have one of those great WrestleMania segments. And I know what you're going to say, but fuck you, I don't care. Eugene comes out, and I always liked Eugene, and he's talking about how great it is to be here at WrestleMania, and then here comes Muhammad Hassan and Daivari, and you know what this is setting up to, and it doesn't matter, because you know it's going to be something epic, it's going to be something awesome. And as they sit there and they go after Eugene, here comes the all-American, real American, greatest superstar of all time, the headliner of the 2005 WWE Hall of Fame class, Hulk Hogan, to come out and make the save. Good conquering evil, and a great WrestleMania moment, a way to get Hulk Hogan involved in the show, other than him just being a part of that. What until 2014 I always felt was the greatest WWE Hall of Fame class of all time was that 2005 class. They did a really good job on this show of incorporating those members of this 2005 Hall of Fame class into the actual meat and potatoes part of the WrestleMania 21 show, which ties right into the next match. You've got The Undertaker taking on Randy Orton with Ace Cowboy Bob Orton in his son's corner. Again, another member of that 2005 Hall of Fame class. Now here he's trying to help his son overcome The Undertaker, help end this streak. And this here, to me, was a key, critical match in the history of Randall Keith Orton's career. Because you had sat there and I felt there's a difference between push and force. And what they were doing with Randy Orton in 2004 was a force. And I don't think it ever fully worked. And then they tried to make a babyface out of him after he beat Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2004. And it frankly just didn't work. And they were quick to try and bury him and have him just be made to be a bitch by Triple H. And now we get to WrestleMania 21 here. And it's like Undertaker helped save another member of that Fortunate Four and really cemented Randy Orton as a future star, really cemented Randy Orton as a big-time player for years to come for the WWE. When you want to look at the best WrestleMania match that Randy Orton's ever had, to me it's easily this one. The most important WrestleMania match that Randy Orton's ever had, it was this one. This match actually back in 2005, I wasn't sure how good it was going to be. It really surprised me just how good it really was. I enjoyed going back and watching it, you know. Undertaker made Randy Orton a star that night. That's the way I put it, frankly. After all that time in evolution and being a World Heavyweight Champion, this is the night that I think Randy Orton was established as a star and as a future star and a building block for this company for years to come. And it was in large part due to the involvement of The Undertaker. So the first three matches on this card and the segment in between the second and third match on the card really got this show off to an incredibly fast, incredibly hot, incredibly good start. And then you got the Women's Championship, Trish defending against Christy Hemme. Trish Stratus is sexy, Christy Hemme to me is not. This match was kind of awkward, it was kind of bad, but I will allow it to go unscathed relatively so because of the strength of the first part of this card, especially when you consider that the best match of the night fouled this Women's Championship match, and it was Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels. This was an entertaining feud. This was a logical, great WrestleMania matchup because this is, to me, the type of match that you need at a WrestleMania in the mid-card. I talked about it before. I'm going to talk about it again because this is another clear-cut example of this for damn sure. Just like it was with Shawn Michaels and Jericho at WrestleMania 19. Here you've got two guys, two top performers, no belts on the line, nothing other than ego and pride and personal issue and beef, and then they just go out there and they try to steal the fucking show. These are the type of matches here that when you have them tend to really help the WrestleMania show and really help to elevate the profile of that card. And Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels definitely did that here. I don't know if this was Shawn Michaels' best WrestleMania match. I don't think so. I think you'd either say his match with Jericho at 19 was better or clearly his match with Taker at 25 was better. You could maybe even throw in there the triple threat at WrestleMania 20 was better. But this might have been Kurt Angle's best WrestleMania match and probably one of Kurt Angle's best matches in the WWE as a whole. It was a really, really, really good match. And again, I forget sometimes just how good it is, but every year I go back and watch it, I'm reminded of just how good it is. Now, unfortunately, sometimes what comes along with WrestleMania is you get some of these good matches, you get some of these great WrestleMania moments, and then you get these things, it's like, what the fuck were you thinking? Aki Bono and Big Show in a sumo match. It's something different, I get that. You know, you're bringing in somebody from the sumo world, a well-known name that really, frankly, doesn't resonate with the wrestling audience, and you ultimately are sending out your guy, the Big Show, into this spot to be made to look like a chump. This was dumb. There's just really no other way around it. And for all the lead up to it and all of this into it, it lasts like a minute and 20-something seconds. This is terrible. This was dumb. Now, I think it was before this, you had the Piper's Pit with Piper and Carlito and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Again, a great job of utilizing your Hall of Fame class to be an actual part of the show in a cohesive way, not in a forced way. And this was a really fun Piper's Pit segment. You know, it'd be always one of those things. What would happen if a Piper came face to face with a Stone Cold Steve Austin? Well, you found out here. And this was a chance for a Carlito to be profiled in a big way because, hey, he's important enough to be a part of Piper's Pit on a WrestleMania. And then you throw a Stone Cold out there. You would have thought WWE, especially with him being Carlos Colon's son, that he had big things in his future. You'd have thought. Now, it's interesting. I remember a lot of people at the time really thought that this was a good show up until maybe the last hour or so. And they really felt that the last two title matches disappointed and ultimately didn't deliver, even though they had their own significance and their own meaning. They just felt that they weren't particularly good matches. I will grant you, first up, John Cena taking on JBL for the WWE Championship. This match was not all that good. I will give you that. Just something was off, something wasn't working, something wasn't clicking. But I will forgive that. Because again, this was about creating a new start. This was about JBL finishing his job. His job, never make any mistake about this, was to be a long-reigning heel transitional world champion on SmackDown. So that way, when they got a new babyface ready to go that could carry the company and carry that brand, which is what they were doing in 2004 with John Cena, then JBL could drop that belt to a John Cena at a big show, preferably a WrestleMania. And that's exactly what they did here. Your Royal Rumble runner-up here in Cena gets a shot at the secondary title. In this case, on this show, the WWE Championship was a secondary title because JBL had it. So it was significant and it was historic. And, you know, it, again, talking about another member of that Fortunate Four with Orton and Edge and now John Cena, this was a big moment for him and this was a big spot for him. And we could sit there and talk about all the things that it's meant, both positive and definitely negative for the WWE over the past 9 years. There's no denying that this match at this show has a lot of historical significance. And that, if anything else, works positively in the favor of the WWE when it comes to me grading this show. And then we get to the main event. And this, again, this match was really about creating another big-time star. And it was amazing to see, as you started off in 2004, everything was about Randy. It was about Randy when it came to Evolution. You know, you had Triple H, you had Flair, but it was about Randy, and Batista's just kind of the dumb hired muscle. But as the year progresses and it continues, all of a sudden it starts to become less and less about Randall and more about Dave Batista, to the point where he goes on to win the 2005 Royal Rumble, and that great turn of his, that instant kind of face turn of his, where Triple H and Flair are encouraging him to go after JBL in the WWE Championship, and Batista goes, "No, bitches. I'm coming after that World Heavyweight Championship." You know, there's a lot of interest heading into this match, and this was a chance for them to go out there and create a big-time star. And that's exactly what this match did. This is not one of Triple H's best WrestleMania matches, but I think it's one of his most important, because this was at a time in the WWE where they needed to create some new stars. You know, some of the guys from the Attitude Era are gone. Some of their other talents are starting to get up there in age and not going to be there forever. And now you needed to build that next generation up. And that's exactly what happened here. The story going into it was really good. And I actually think the match was pretty solid itself. Not one of those all-time great WrestleMania main events, but damn it, at the end of the day, Triple H did business. He did what he needed to do, and this match works, and it works well, and Batista becomes the World Heavyweight Championship. Excuse me, I almost said WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So when you look at this show, there were some great matches. Ray and Eddie in the opener, really damn good. Edge winning Money in the Bank. Not only was the match really good, but it helped create a new star. A guy that maybe didn't need a lot, but he needed something, and this gave him a signature kind of WrestleMania moment on his own, not as a part of a tag team. Randy Orton was elevated, and I feel in a lot of ways still to this day saved by having this match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 21. Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels had the match of the night and tore the house down, a top 10 all-time WrestleMania match, perhaps. And then you've got your other two members of that Fortunate Four, Cena and Batista. They come and they take the mantle, they take the ball, and it's their time to run with it, and they take over for a JBL and a Triple H. So while I might not necessarily classify WrestleMania 21 as perhaps one of the 5 best shows of all time, I think it's a really good show. And like I said, there was enough good stuff in it, and when you look at the fact you might not like what it meant historically for the WWE, it did have a lot of historical impact and meaning, and it created and made some big time stars. Just imagine if we got that out of a WrestleMania 30 here in 2014, how we'd go back 5 or 10 years later and view that WrestleMania. Well, that's kind of how I view WrestleMania 21. A good show, and frankly, a little bit of an underrated show, in my opinion.